Thank you, Sajay. Please confirm if you can hear me. Can you confirm that you can hear me, please? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, and a very good evening to everyone. The way he was making that introduction, I wasn't even sure it was me. The profile seems to, outvalue me. But thank you for being so kind, and thank you for your generosity. Again, good evening, everyone. Please, if you can hear me and if you are on this call, I want you to drop just a word in the chat box about your expectation or what you're excited about, because I believe that this evening, it's one of those evenings that you will not forget in a hurry. I believe for somebody here, tonight is going to be a night that would awaken something that you already possess. So please drop in the chat box anything that comes to mind, what you're excited about, where you're from, your name, whatever you are willing to share. Please drop it in the chat box. First off, I want to say a very big thank you to the JPI Borno State chapter for this invitation. I am so honored. I am so glad. Please, at any point, Sajay, that you cannot hear me or anyone cannot hear me, please don't hesitate to call my attention. And thank you to the entire team, JPI, Borno State Chapter, for considering me worthy. I feel both honored and privileged to be here. Michael and Co, I want to say a very big thank you. Most especially Mr. Ayuba Bola for making this evening possible. Thank you. Thank you. And I mean this with all sincerity and from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for putting this initiative and for carrying this mandate to bring to young people within our spheres of influence. It's You will not know how great this is until in years to come, where people will look back and say, Mr. Ayuba and his team, Johnson and his team, and all this kind of conversation has shaped my thinking. So I want to say a very big thank you. And Jetro, thank you for an excellent coordination so far. I believe we're going to have an amazing evening. When I first received the invitation, when I received the topic, leadership unbound, reclaiming our identity and our way, I spent time thinking about it. And the more I thought about it, the more I become convinced that many of us have misunderstood what leadership is. Many of us misunderstand leadership. In fact, I think one of the reasons many young people don't see themselves as leaders is because they are looking in the wrong place. When most people hear the word leadership, the first thing that comes to mind is a governor, president, CEO, directors. We think about the commissioners, the chairman, people with title, someone with followers, a person who people listen to, someone with authority. But tonight I'm going to challenge our thinking. Tonight I'm going to challenge our thinking. And I want to suggest something different to whatever it is we must have inherited as what leadership means, whatever it is that we must have believed as what leadership is. Tonight, I'm going to challenge a little bit of that thinking. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the JPI webinar. Before we start, I have a question. What is leadership to you? It's a simple question, and you can use the chat box to just drop. But please, no textbook answers, no chat GPT responses, no Google search responses. Just think about it. No political answer. Think about it honestly. What is leadership? I'm going to give you a minute to just pour out your thoughts. When you hear the word leadership, what comes to mind? Because this is an important question. We may think that we are here to create the next governor, or we are here to create the next CEO. You may be right, but let's understand what we are here to talk about first. Someone said leadership to me is influence. Okay, that's beautiful. What is leadership? I hope you can hear me, and I hope that we are chatting our responses because this is going to be an interactive session. Someone say is the act of leading, guiding, and influencing an individual. Someone say leadership is taking responsibility. Someone say leadership means having a vision. Interesting perspective. And you know, for most people, this is what we will say. Leadership is influence. Yes. Leadership is vision. Yes. Leadership is the ability to motivate people. Someone say leadership is a footprint. Is that? And all of these things are not wrong. All of these things are not wrong. But here is where it begins to get interesting. Even though they are not wrong, they may not be complete. Because all of us, all they do is assume leadership is about other people. But what if leadership is something else? What if leadership is somewhere else? What if leadership is not all about people first? Someone said leadership means service. Thank you, Aisha, too. All of these things are correct, but they are incomplete, like I said, because the first thing we do when we hear the word leadership is we assume that leadership is about other people. While that may be correct, I want to offer you what I consider as leadership. For me, I define leadership as the decision to take responsibility for a reality beyond yourself and to act to improve it. Let me say it again. I see leadership as the decision to take responsibility for a reality beyond yourself and to act to improve it, not to manage it, not to complain about it, right? Not to wait for someone else to fix it, but to act to improve it. And I'm going to break it down before this is going to be one of those conversations that's going to have layers. But notice that there are three things in this definition. And I don't want us to focus so much on the definition. It's just to understand the basic makeup of what leadership should mean to us as young people. And you will notice three things in the definition. One is that it starts with a decision. We said leadership is the decision to take responsibility. So first, decision, which is very important. Not the title that you take. It's not the first thing about leadership. It's not the appointment that you gain or that you obtain or that you won. It's a decision first. Then the second thing, we said that it requires responsibility. What I said is that leadership is the decision to take responsibility for a reality beyond yourself and act to improve it. So the second thing there is responsibility. And hear me, not your opinion, not your opinion, not some commentary that you receive, not what you think, but responsibility. First, decision to take. Second, responsibility. And the third, it demands an action, which is where you act to improve that reality that is beyond yourself. Thank you, Mr. Ayuba, for putting this. Leadership is the decision to take responsibility for a reality beyond yourself and act to improve it. I want that to sink in. First, you take a decision. Second, there is a part for responsibility. And third, it demands action, not analysis. Many of us are very good in analyzing situations. Right now, there are people seated talking about very dark man, what they are doing in Abuja, what the government is doing. APC is going to win. Oh, because Atiku is here, because this, or the church in this state, or the mosque, the Malam here. All of this, we are very good in analysis. But leadership demands action, not intention again. You have good intention. I hear people when I walk around communities and I engage with people, I hear people, oh, when I become this, I should be able to do that. By the time if I am this, I will do this. If I am the president of Nigeria, no. Leadership demands action, not your analysis or your intention, but action. And action is what you are able to do. So, if there's anything I want you to take away from me for this discussion about leadership, is three things around leadership. The meaning of leadership is one, decision, responsibility, and action. If you combine these three things in a sequence, you take decision to take responsibility for a reality beyond yourself and act to improve it, then you are on your way to becoming a leader. Now, here's what makes this little humble definition very powerful for us tonight. You know, if, for example, you are a student and you decided to tutor other students who are struggling, like your classmate who are struggling, you have met this definition. If you are a young lady, but you organizes your peers around a community problem to meet the need, you have already met that definition. Or maybe you are a young person in Borno somewhere and you choose to build something instead of waiting for the government. You have met that definition. Leadership, hear me, hear this. Leadership is not a position you are given. Leadership is not a position you are given. It is a posture you choose. I might even be arrogant enough to say that leadership is not given to you. It's what you make of yourself. That's what makes you a leader. Not the position, not the title, not the opportunity you manage to utilize, but the posture you take in. That's what makes you a leader. And now know this. Here is my first challenge to your thinking. The most important, hear this, and I need to read this just the way I wrote it. Hold on. The most important leadership position you will ever occupy is the position you occupy in your mind. Let that sink. I'll say it again. The most important leadership position you will ever occupy is the one you occupy in your own mind. And we're going to talk about mindset for a bit. Because someone say, okay. We're going to talk about mindset a little bit because, you see, before you lead people, you are already leading something. Understand this. Right now, where you're seated, everywhere you are, before you start leading people, you are already leading something. You are already leading a belief or your beliefs. You're already leading your decisions. You're already leading your response to life or your responses to life. I want you to understand, you're already leading the story you tell about who you are. Now, this matters more than most people realize, and I'm going to explain, right? Imagine two people. Imagine two people from the same community. They are from the same community. They went to the same school. They face the same struggles, the same life challenges, such as lack of good road network to their community, maybe flooding, maybe lack of quality healthcare, maybe poor quality education, maybe poverty, and they face the same economic reality. But then one of them believe people like me can never reach so and so level. I'll give you an example. I'm from Borno State. I'm from southern part of Borno State. And there's this subtle belief from our people that they may never get to be governors. They may never get to produce a governor in Borno State. They take this inferiority position. And someone from such community can believe that people like us, all we are good for is to be rep members, deputy governors, and so these two people that I'm trying to paint a picture for you, one of them believe that people like me can never reach so and so level. We can never own our own company. We can never build a duplex. We can never drive GLK. We can never have an NGO of our own. We can never have a school. We can never, whatever it is. But the other person now believes, why not me? Two people exposed to the same reality. Now pay attention. Nothing has changed physically. It's just the belief system. It's just what is happening in their mind. It's just the belief. Nothing happened. The road network still the same. The economy is still the same. The opportunities are still the same. But one thing has changed. The position they occupy in their mind. And that position is different. Because one believes there is a caveat, there is a ceiling that he can never outgrow. But the other belief, he can push the envelope. Why not him? Why not her? And because that position is different, their actions will become different. If one applies, the other will not. If one tries, the other will hesitate. If the other sees possibility, the other will see barriers. One will keep moving, the other will keep explaining. I come from this place, so this is it. Guys, if you're with me, say I hear in the chat box. Let me hear you. If you're with me, just type I hear. Now, thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now let's continue. Now, these two people that has no physical change in their reality, just something that happened in their mindset, their belief. Hear me. 10 years later, 10 years down the road, people will look at their lives and call it destiny. But many times it started with their identity, what they have chosen to believe about themselves. Let that sink for a minute. Because I'm going to start talking to you about how the mind works in regards leadership. All right? I'm sorry, guys. I didn't really time myself when I started. I forgot. So, Sajay, once it's approaching my time, please do well to let me know. All right? Thank you. Now, let's think about how that works. You see, the mind, your mind, right? Your mind, when we talk about your mind is not just where you think. Ku gane fa, mind naka ba wurin tunaninka bane kawai. I want you to really pay attention. Your mind is not just where you think, because some of us think nonsense every day. We think bullshit. I'm sorry to use this word, but if you really sit and talk with young people, you realize that our mind is covered by Facebook and TikTok, nothing more. So I want you to understand that your mind functions differently, different things. Number one, your mind is not just where you think, it is where you decide what is possible. So your mind is a decision bank. Think of it as a power bank to your phone. If you connect it to your phone, it begins to power the battery and your phone will begin to operate optimally. Your mind is not just where you think. Beyond thinking, your mind is where you decide what is possible. It is where you assign yourself a role in life. Look, I've decided many years ago that I'm going to build a tribe, a community of people who challenge the average and refuse to live an average life. Now, I may not be where I want to be yet, but believe me, I have already assigned myself a role in this life, and nobody can take that away. So, your mind is not just where you think, it is where you assign yourself a role. And hear this, once you assign a role to yourself, you begin to act that role. You begin to act that role without even noticing it. Some of us are young people, some of us are married, some of us are not married. But assuming you're not married and you have a girlfriend that you love so much, the moment you accept to be a boyfriend, you begin to act as a boyfriend without even realizing it because you've already assigned yourself a role of a boyfriend. And once you assign yourself a role in life, what happens is you begin to act out that role without even noticing it. So here's what happened. A person who sees himself as a victim is in his mind, he will always notice threats. If you see yourself as a victim, you will always notice threat. That this person is laughing one kind, that person is looking at me one kind. You begin to notice everything that looks like a threat because that is the role you assign yourself, a victim. A person who sees himself as a builder will notice opportunities. If you see yourself as someone who is meant to build something, you begin to see opportunities everywhere. And imagine if you are very clear about what you want to build. If you are very clear about the things you want to build in life, what happens is that you begin to see opportunities that align with what you are building. Because I would just digress a little bit. Young people, be very careful. Not everything that looks like an opportunity is an opportunity. You have to be clear with your goal, what you want in life. This is just a footnote for you. You have to know what you want because if everything that looks like an opportunity is an opportunity, Joseph in the Bible will never have risen to prime minister because when the wife of Potiphar offered herself to him, it looks like an opportunity. Alas, a slave will have the best part of the house. But it's a trap. I remember many years ago when this insurgency started and there were military guys coming around in Borno State, in Maiduguri. They were in the cities. They were in the cities everywhere, glamour. They were buying the latest phones. They were taking all the beautiful girls from young people. A lot of our younger ones saw the glamour of that. They wanted to go to the military and the military are saying, come, 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 come. And all of them, when they begin to be killed one by one. Don't go for everything that looks like an opportunity. When you are clear about your life, when you are clear in your mind, when you assign a clear role in your head, you would understand opportunities. And this is just, by the way, I needed to say this so that you understand that just because we say you notice opportunities if you are a builder, there are things that you see as an opportunity as a builder, but in reality, they are building a ditch that will bury you. This was not how Samson planned to end his life. Samson and Delilah, the story. This was not how Samson tried to play out his life. Somebody that can kill 5,000 in a night ended up being, you know the story. So not everything you see as an opportunity. But anyways, a person who sees himself as a builder will notice opportunities. And a person, hear this, a person who sees himself or herself as an inferior person will always assume others are better. You will always assume others are better. It may be same street. It may be the same city. You may have gone to the same school. You may be in the same Maiduguri, but you would have two completely different worlds because two completely different internal positions are happening in your mind. This is how the mind influences your action. It is not forcing you to do things, but it's filtering what you see. It is filtering what you see, what you attempt, and what you believe you deserve. This is how the mind works. The Kanuri say, Asunuma, you say, Asangana. For those that don't understand Kanuri, it means can you hear me or do you understand? And then you say, that means yes. That's just Angela. Adamasho. Adamasho. Right? So your mind filters what you see, what you can attempt, and what you believe you deserve based on the position or role you assign yourself inside your mind. And this filtering, this internal position, ladies and gentlemen, it is what we call identity. And this is where a lot of us miss it. We don't know who we are. I ask this question to young people a lot. Some of my mentees are in this call, I believe. And I asked this question. I said, if we take away your name, if we take away your academic qualification, if we take away your position, if we take away your occupation, if we take away your tribe, if we take away your family background, your family history, if we take away your gender, if we take away your religion, if we take away all these social attributes, who are you? Many people cannot answer this question, and unfortunately, it is the painful reality. Who you are has nothing to do with what you are given when you are birthed, when they born you. Everything else that they born you with is not who you are. Sharon, I'm shaking tables, huh? Okay. Frederick, you're not clueless, man. You're doing great. I know you personally, so I think you're doing great. You're not clueless. So, so identity, ladies and gentlemen, maybe Ayuba, we may have some time to talk about identity. I see that people are more interested in this. But in any case, identity, your identity is not just who you are. I want you to know this. Your identity is not just who you are. Your identity is the role your mind has assigned you in the story of your life. Let that sink in. Now, I talk about two things. First, I talk about leadership and what it means and how it connects to your mind. Now we're talking about identity. And I said that identity is the role your mind assigned you in the story of your life. And there's a danger here, right? Hear this. If the role was assigned, the role that your mind assigned to you, if this role was assigned by fear, by failure, or by what others said about you, by what the society said about you, by what your qualifications said about you, by what your ethnicity say about you, by what other social attributes says about you, and you keep acting it out, then you are living someone else's script. You are not in your identity. And you keep acting it out until the day you decide to rewrite it. Otherwise, you will always be acting somebody's script. And that decision to rewrite your own identity, that decision to take authorship of your own story, ladies and gentlemen, this is where leadership begins. Do you see how that connects? Please, if you see how that connects, let me see on the chat box. Tell me I see it. Let me recap a little. I said that your identity is not just who you are. Your identity is also the role your mind has assigned to you in the story of your life. And if that role is assigned by danger or by fear or by what others says about you, then you will keep living someone else's script. You will keep acting it out until the day you decide to rewrite it. And that decision to rewrite the authorship of your story is where leadership begins, not the title you receive, not in an election, ladies and gentlemen, in the mind. If this makes sense to you, react anyhow you want to react. Shout if you want to. Don't mind me. Are they pressing this man? Who is pressing your neck? Are you guys having fun tonight? I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear it. You see, one thing I've learned from working across communities, and by the grace of God, I travel a lot. And one thing I learned from working across communities and meeting people from different backgrounds is this: people really act the story they believe about themselves. I mean, people really act beyond the story they believe about themselves. Listen to me. The reason why a poor man will remain poor is not lack of opportunities around. Is the belief that he is poor and that there's virtue in poverty. The reason why someone from southern Borno will not believe that he or she can be the governor of this state is that they believe they are inferior to the other part of the state. I'm telling you, people really act beyond what they believe about themselves. Now, if I believe I'm powerless, I will behave differently. If I believe my contribution don't matter, I will behave differently. If I believe nothing good will come from my community, I will behave differently. And it's not because those things I believe are true, but because belief leads behavior. What you believe will lead your behavior, will lead you to what you are gonna what you do. Asunoma. All right. Belief leads behavior, meaning belief, right, shape how you behave. Shape how you behave. This is why leadership begins in the mind, because the belief are leaders themselves. The belief are leaders. This is why if you study the Jewish people, if you want to be a builder, if you want to be an owner and a leader, study the behavior of Jewish people. Whether you are a Muslim or you are a Christian, go and study the Jewish people. And then I would recommend one book. After you study the Jewish people, go and read a book called The State of Africa. You would see why you have to break out of certain things that you've inherited. Because the Jewish people, they believe in ownership. They don't believe in followership. If you hire a Jewish person in your company, their thinking is not to become the biggest staff in that company. Their thinking is to take that company from you, to buy it, to be the owners. This is why everywhere you see the Jewish people, they are always there, because belief are leaders too. So what leaders are you feeding your mind? Meaning, what belief are you feeding your mind? Some of us, we spend 12 hours out of 24 on TikTok and WhatsApp and this thing and chatting and talking to boyfriends and girlfriends and cheating. But the head is empty. Let me say this. What you constantly feed your mind would determine the outcome of your life. What you constantly feed your mind would determine the outcome of your life. Yes. Now, in fact, let me say this, right? Something that may sound strange, but every belief you hold, hear this. I'm going to say this and it may sound strange, but it's true. Every belief you hold is trying to lead your life somewhere. Every belief is trying to live your life, is trying to lead your life somewhere. The question is, where is it leading you? Because even your belief will determine what you notice. I will give you an example, and I use this example a lot. Michael, I need you to, no, Sajay, I need you to unmute your mic. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you hear me? Okay. From last week, Saturday to today, that's 1 week. How many red cars have you seen on the road? Give me the specific number. From last week to this week, give me specific number that you can swear this is the only red car that passed you on the road. How many? You can swear with your life no other red car have passed you for the whole of 1 week. Aha. Now, what if I say to you, from today to next week Saturday, for every single red car you see, I will give you 10,000 naira. Do you know that you will not miss any red car? Why? Because something has changed in your mind. And now what you couldn't notice before, you begin to notice because your mind has received something and you believe it. You believe it because you know that I'm capable to give you that. But if it's a madman that told you, if you see a red car, I will give you 10,000, you will discard it. And because you don't believe it, you will not act on it. I'll give you another example. If a student in your class, if you're a student comes in and say, we are going to have a test tomorrow. Everybody get ready. A lot of the students will want to fact check it, even though it is an information that you receive, but you will not act on it because you don't 100% believe it. But if it's a lecturer that says, tomorrow we are going to have a test, you are going to act because you start reading to prepare for the test because now you have received it and you believe it because you know the potential and the capacity of the lecturer to deliver on what he said. This, ladies and gentlemen, it is how belief determines what you notice. If you believe something, you will begin to notice and act accordingly. It determines what you ignore. It determines what you attempt. It determines what you avoid. It determines what you even think is possible. And after a while, they begin to shape your reality. And after a while, they begin to shape your reality. Imagine a motorcycle, maybe a rider traveling from, let's say, Maiduguri to Damatru, okay? And the engine is working, the fuel is available, the rider is moving. It's a motorcycle, right? Everything appears normal. But unknown to him, right? The, what do you call it now? The handlebars are slightly turned in the wrong direction. Okay? Now, at first, nothing will look wrong, right? He will still be moving. The motorcycle will still be running. The speed will be fine. But if you give enough distance, you will discover that he's no longer heading where he intends. This is how it works. And the problem is not the engine, it is the direction. Asanuma, unfortunately, many young people, including those in this meeting tonight, we are trying so hard to improve the speed of our life when the real issue is the direction of our thinking. Because beliefs are the handles, they determine where your life goes. And leadership begins when with decision. Leadership begins with deciding who holds them for you. Is it you or the limitations that you've inherited? That you can never be this because you are not a graduate, or because you don't have money, you come from a poor background. Whatever it is, are you the one managing your beliefs, or your beliefs are managed by something you've inherited? It could be a culture, it could even be a family thing. Question things, examine things. If a belief has kept you in the same position for too long, shouldn't that belief be examined? If a belief has produced poverty in your whole community for generations, shouldn't that belief be examined? If you've read stories about people who came from nothing and become something, shouldn't you want to be one? I want that to sink in. If leadership, if leadership is a three, then I want you to hear me very clearly. If leadership is a three, then your identity is the root. And if the root is weak, what do you think will happen? The tree will always struggle no matter how hard it tries. Now, when I say identity, most people immediately think my name, my tribe, my religion. No, or where I'm from. Those things are part of your identity, but they are not the deepest part. Here's my definition of your identity. Somebody like Michael will be eager to write this down. I'm going to put it in a very, very simple format. I define identity as the story you believe about yourself and your place in the world. Identity, in a simple layman terms, is the story you believe about yourself and your place in this world. Because every one of us is living according to your story. The question is, what story are you living? For example, two people can fail an exam. One will say, yes, I failed. The other will say, I am a failure. In fact, just yesterday, someone visited me in my hotel room and we were talking, and interestingly, this guy said, at a point, I began to wonder if I am the problem, because everything in my family, I'm always the one that has the opposite. So they told me my grandmother this is. He was giving me one sort of story and said that he believed that he is the problem. Can you see the difference? Now, one is describing an event that he failed an exam, but the other person is describing an identity. He's assigning failure to himself. Your ability to distinguish and distinguish an event with who you are would help you a great deal, because it will affect what you believe about yourself. Just because you fail an exam doesn't make you a failure. Because if you say I failed, then you can recover. If you say I am a failure, then it becomes a part of who you are. And once something becomes your identity, it begins to direct your behavior. So this is why your identity is so powerful. Hence, the need to reorient your belief system to be the leader that you are born to be. Asanoma, think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Sajay, how many minutes do I have? I can talk from now till next week. This is what I do for a living. How many minutes do I have? Less than 2 minutes. Okay. Ah, that's so generous. I hope we don't get tired, guys. I hope we don't get tired. Now, there's something I've also discovered that many people, especially young people, we don't act according to information we have. Ah, you will be amazed the number of information, the amount of information you have in this call. You will be amazed, but we don't act according to it. We act according to our identity. And let me pause and clarify this. Just because I say we act according to our identity doesn't mean all of us have assumed the right identity. There's someone in this call right here that may believe he can never be a manager.